this video, we're going to be solving these equations by first removing the greatest common factor. So for letter A, we have a squared plus 5a equals 0. So what we're looking for is what exactly does the a squared and the 5a have in common? Well, they both have an a. So we're going to pull out an a, which is going to leave us with a times. So if I have a squared and I take one away, I'm only left with 1a. And here we have the 5a over a. Well, that a is going to take that a away. So we're going to have plus 5. So a times a plus 5 equals 0. And now we're going to use the zero product property. So we're going to set each thing, each piece equal to 0. So we have a equals 0 and a plus 5 equals 0. And we're going to solve. Now here we already see that a equals 0 is solved for. But we need to solve the other one. So we're going to subtract 5 from both sides, which gives us a equals negative 5. And then the last thing we need to do is to check those solutions. We're going to do that by plugging them back in. So we have an a squared plus a 5a. We want to know, does that still equal 0? Because we've got two answers, we're going to need to check both answers to make sure that neither of them is extraneous, which means it's kind of like an extra answer. So we'll start by checking our 0. When we plug that into the calculator, we're going to get an answer of 0. And we see that matches what we needed it to match, so a equals 0 is a solution. Then we're going to check our negative 5, and if we plug in negative 5 squared plus 5 times negative 5 into the calculator, make sure you use your parentheses in the right places, because if you don't, you won't get the right answer. You're going to get a 0, which is what we needed it to equal, meaning that a equals negative 5 is a solution. For letter B, we want to know, what does the 3s squared and the minus 9s both have in common? Well, here they both have an s in common. So we're going to take out the s, and that's going to leave us with a 3s minus 9 equals 0. Again, because there was 2 here and I took 1 away, there's only 1 left. And then here, 1 take away 1 means that only that 9 came out. So now we're going to use the zero product property. So I'm going to take each section and set it equal to 0. So I'm going to have s equals 0 and 3s minus 9 equals 0. Well, I don't think we took out our greatest common factor, so we might need to go back and look at that, because 3 and 9 each have a 3 in common, which means we didn't get the greatest common factor. So it's not just an s. It's also the number 3 that can come out, which gives us a 3s times s minus 3 equals 0. Because 3 divided by 3 is a 1, and we had 2 s's and took 1 away, so it left us with 1 s, and 9 divided by 3 is 3, and the s take away the s means there's no s's to write down there. So now we can use our zero product property, so 3s equals 0, and our s minus 3 equals 0, and we're ready to solve for s. So here we'll divide both sides by 3, so we get s equals 0. Here we'll add 3 to each side, get s equals 3, and we're now ready to check our solutions and see if they in fact will work. So again, remember, everywhere we would see an s, we need to put parentheses when we're writing it and in our calculator. We want to know, does that equal a 0? And again, we're checking two answers. And we're first going to start with our 0. So we're plugging our 0, and when we plug in 3 times 0 squared minus 9 times 0 in the calculator, we're going to get a 0, which matches what we need it to match. So we get that s equals 0. Now we're going to check our 3, so we're going to plug that in. And if we plug in 3 times 3 squared minus 9 times 3, we're going to get a 0, which matches what we needed it to match, telling us that s equals 3 is a solution. for letter C, this one looks a little bit different because we have 4x squared equals 2x. It doesn't say minus 0 or equals 0 anywhere there. But we need to move our 2x over to the other side. We need it to be over there so that all of our terms are on the same side. So we're going to subtract 2x from both sides, which will give us a 4x squared minus 2x equals 0. Now from here, we want to know, what does 4x squared and 2x both have in common? Well, they each have an x, but the number 2 will also go into each of them. So we can take out the 2x, and that's going to leave us with an x minus 1. And we say minus 1 because 2 divided by 2 is a 1, and x divided by x is a 1, so we get a 1 right there. And so that's set equal to 0. Then we're going to use the zero product property to set them each equal to 0. And then we're going to solve and check. So from here on, I'm going to go ahead and have you pause and finish this problem. And when you're done, push play, and let's see if you were able to finish it correctly. So I'll divide both sides by 2 here and get x equals 0. Here, I'll add 1 to each side and get x equals 1. And now I need to check my solutions. Well, when I go to check my solutions, I need to write it in the form it was in originally. So I want to know 4x squared equals 2x. Remember, everywhere there was an x, I need to put a parenthesis. And I have 2 answers to check, so I need to write it 2 times. We'll start off by checking our 0, so we'll plug that one in. 4 times 0 squared is 0, and 2 times 0 is 0, and we want to look at these. Do they match? Yes, they do. So that tells us that x equals 0 as a solution. Now we're going to check the answer of 1. So we're going to plug in a 1, and 4 times 1 squared is 4, and we get a 2 over here. When we plug that in, 2 times 1 is 2. And those don't match. So we want to first check to see, did we do everything right? So we see our math here is right, and this looks right. Oh, but I think we have maybe a problem right here, because it looks like, isn't 4 divided by 2 a 2? There should be a 2 right there. So what that means is that we need to go back, and now we've got a 2x minus 1 equals 0. And this is one of the reasons why it's important to check our answers. Now, if we'd gone back and we'd done all of our math right, then we would know that that was an extraneous solution, meaning an extra answer that doesn't work. But since our math was wrong, we need to go back and double check. So we set that back up. We'll divide both sides by 2 and get a 0. But then here, we'll add 1 and get 2x equals 1. Then divide by 2. So here we have x equals a 1/2. So now we're going to check our 2 answers again and see if we can get those to come out. Because now we have our math correct. We're going to double check that. We have our math right. We want to see, are they in fact good answers or bad answers? So 4 times x squared equals 2 times x. Remember, everywhere we see an x, we're going to put parentheses. So we'll start off by plugging in our 0. And so we're going to get 0 and a 0, and so those match. So x equals 0 is a solution. And now we're going to check that 1/2. So I plug that in. And 4 times 1/2 squared, and so 1/2 that's squared is going to give us a 1. And 2 times 1/2 is a 1. And those match. And so x equals 1/2 is a solution. And we're done. So it's always important to make sure that you're pulling out, or when you're pulling out, rather, like this, how we took out that 2x, make sure you don't drop the number you're having to divide, because it can set you back and make you redo the problem. So make sure that you're always checking your answer and taking your division with you as you go.